Hello, hey, the big guy's here. The big guy being me. Let's go get started here with some more American history. Now, I'll tell you what, you're not going to get this anywhere else. All right, I put the premium gas in my car this morning. You're getting ready to get some premium instruction. So how's that sound? Okay, I hope you guys had a good Labor Day weekend. But guess what? It was Labor Day yesterday. Well, today is a work day, so it's time to work. I'm going to go through now. The quiz for the unit is due today. The Gilded Age quiz. Now today, or the information I'm going to give you is going to help you with the project, which I'm going to post maybe probably later today, and it's going to be due at the end of the week. Okay, it's going to be similar to last time, the last project. There's going to be like a template where you have to fill out, or if you want to do it on Google Slides, you can do it that way. That's how I used to have my students do it, but I'll explain it to you in the instructions when I send it out. But to do the project, you need this information that I'm going to give you right now. All right, it's a new period that we're studying here of immigration. So what it says there, the new immigrants from 1890 to 1920. Now there's a lot of information on this, and so I'm just going to go highlight the more important parts as I go through this lecture. But I'm posting the PowerPoint on Canvas so you can look at it yourself. The new immigrants, all right. So here's the big thing with these new immigrants. This is going to help you with the project. The new immigrants came from a different part of Europe versus the old immigrants, meaning the traditional immigrants. So traditionally, meaning that most of the people who founded the United States, their families came from northern and western Europe. Northern Western Europe is typically places like England, Ireland, Germany, Scotland, France. Okay, those places. For instance, my name is Robinson. All right, that is an English name. My mother is her family is Scotch Irish. All right, so Scotland, Ireland. Those are all countries from northern and western Europe. Now, during the time period we're looking at from 1890, you have a different group of immigrants. They're coming from a different part of Europe, southern and eastern Europe. All right, southern and eastern Europe are places like Italy. Okay, you have Russians, people coming from Russia, Poland. All right, Hungary. Those places, that's where a lot of immigrants on the East Coast started to come from those places and come in through the East Coast. All right, why do they come? Well, the reason people move in general, right, is for money, but also the same reasons people have been coming to America for forever, really. All right, religious persecution, meaning they want to practice the religion, their own religion. They viewed America as a place of liberty, meaning in America, thought that in America we can do this, we can practice this religion that we follow. Whereas maybe in the country they lived in, particularly places like Russia, Judaism was looked down upon, and so they want to move and maybe come to America to practice their desired religion. Now that's on the East Coast. Okay, so on the East Coast, you have people coming from Europe. On the West Coast, remember it's the Pacific, you have immigrants coming from countries in the Pacific, like Japan, China. All right, immigrants are coming in through a place on the West Coast called Angel Island. All right, on the East Coast, I didn't mention it, but I may put it on there later. They're coming through a place called Ellis Island, West Coast, Angel Island. Now, one of the reasons they're coming through on the West Coast for the same reason, really money. All right, all of these immigrants, people are not immigrants, but people just in general always are searching for more money. That's why people move. So you have the Japanese and Chinese coming in, and specifically the Chinese are working on the railroad, helping build the railroads on the West Coast, the Transcontinental Railroad, which we studied in the last unit. But this unit we're talking about a little more is that a lot of the Chinese immigrants, that's what they helped build, is that Transcontinental Railroad. Also, the gold rush in California. So you have immigrants coming in on the West Coast through Angel Island, and that's they're looking for more money and more opportunity. So here's a thing that you're gonna you're gonna have to yeah, you're gonna have to write about it on your project. Is the journey or coming to the new land. So how did immigrants come then? Well, they came by ship, okay, because this is really the before the use of mass air transport. Really, the Wright brothers, 1890 predates the Wright brothers flight in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. But so they're coming through by ship. All right. It took from Europe. It takes about a week. Now in the Pacific, it took 3 weeks. So why is this important? Well, when people, let's say like this, on my first deployment, I was on a ship for it wasn't really that long. I think 4 or 5 months. I was on a ship, and in a little area we stayed at, some people started to get sick. Well, when you're cramped in quarters, what happens when one person gets sick? Well, especially now, we should know this with the COVID. One person gets sick, and the next person, and eventually, everybody in that little living area is going to get sick. Now that happened on my deployment. Everyone got sick, well, except for me. Okay, maybe me being an alpha male, I was immune to whatever virus everyone caught. But that's what I'm trying to tell you is life on the ship here. Just it's a short journey, but it's still very difficult. You're cramped in together. People are getting sick. Hard to get proper nutrition on that ship and your journey to the new land. So the new life. Well, what do you do once you come to America? Well, these are things we talked about. Difficult journey. There's culture shock. Now there's two things there. Ellis Island in New York is where they came in through the East Coast. Angel Island, San Francisco is the West Coast. So Ellis Island, now they're given a physical examination. So why is it important that immigrants are checked for physical examination? Well, one, when you're letting a large group of people into the United States, you want to make sure that they're not transporting diseases into the United States. Specifically, this is before antibiotics. So tuberculosis was a big one because still is a contagious disease, and they wanted to check to make sure that those immigrants weren't bringing in tuberculosis and spreading it throughout the American population. So there's that. They also don't want to bring in a bunch of convicts. All right, so there's going to be somewhat of a background check. You have to be able to work as well. In other words, we don't want to bring in people to the country or during this time that could not support themselves. All right. They want to bring in people that could work and support themselves. That's the idea behind the government. Angel Island again on the West Coast, specifically, it was a little bit harsher than Ellis Island. Well, why? There's probably racism that has to do with that. In other words, the people coming in on the West Coast, being Asian, look different than the normal American populace. Right. So on the East Coast, you have a lot of European immigrants. Well, most of America at the time was people of European descent. So that's probably why on the West Coast they were subjected to harsher questioning, is because there was an element of racism in that. So here's kind of an example, or just a picture of some of the medical examination that was going on. Now, was it really that thorough? I mean, it doesn't look like it's super thorough, but again, there was some medical examination or vetting system that went along with the immigration during the time. So once you come to a new land, what do you got to do? Well, now this is important. This idea of nativism, meaning that only people who are born in America are truly Americans. All right, that's the idea behind nativism. So if you go to a different country, what are the things you have to do in that new country? You got to learn the customs, right? You got to learn the language, okay? So it's almost like that idea of assimilation, which we studied with the Native Americans. Well, now the country is trying to assimilate these new immigrants into American culture. So the religion, the language, the customs, those are things that these new immigrants have to learn or at the very least get used to. So with that, you have the use or the not the use, but the what's called ethnic enclaves. So an ethnic enclave is basically an area where a lot of people with the same culture, same ethnicity live together. So it would be a place like Chinatown or Little Havana, okay? Specifically, this is for immigrants. They come in and you want to live with be around people that share the same values and culture that you do. So, in other words, think of it like this: if you're say tomorrow you have to go live, you're going to go live in somewhere in Europe or Africa or just anywhere. You probably want to live or be around people who one know English, two know something about America or where you come from, because that's going to help you adjust to the new area where you live. That's what a lot of these immigrants did. So they live with people the same ethnicity because it helped them adjust to the new area, and it also reminded them of where they came from. All right, so that's where you have ethnic enclaves. So an area of high ethnic concentration. So even in New York, places like Little Italy, okay, that's the idea of it. I'll tell you a story. So one time I went to a baseball game in Los Angeles, and me and my buddy were after the game. We were walking to find our car where we parked, and we walked through this area. We walked away from the stadium different than we walked to the game. And we walked through this area, and no one there. We were trying to talk to these people, trying to find their car, and no one in this area spoke English. Like no one. Everybody spoke Spanish, and that would be what you call an ethnic enclave. No, all these people who lived in this area, they were Hispanic, and so it was an area of high Hispanic ethnic concentration. It would be an ethnic enclave that me and my buddy went through that day. Nativism. So nativism again, overt favoritism towards native-born Americans. Many groups believe that WASP. Well, what's a WASP? WASP is an acronym for the term White Anglo-Saxon Protestant. That's important. Why is that important? Well, White Anglo-Saxon Protestants have particularly been the people who have been in power in the United States since it was founded. I'll tell you like this: every president we've had, besides two, have been white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. All right. Anybody know the two that weren't? Okay, well I do. Barack Obama and John F. Kennedy. All right. Everybody else was white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Barack Obama being multiracial, and John F. Kennedy was not Protestant; he was Catholic. So Most of these native-born Americans objected to immigrants that were different. All right, nativism in the workforce. Well, this still exists today. Why do people? Why are they against immigrants? Well, because immigrants do what? They take jobs. Right? They'll work for less money than a native-born person, so they'll kind of undercut their pay. And if I'm a factory owner, if I'm Andrew Carnegie and I have a steel company, I want to hire those people who are willing to work for less money. So with this, you see the government start to step in. They excluded Chinese with the Chinese Exclusion Act. And then the gentleman's agreement did the same thing to Japan, basically. That was designed for to give native-born Americans more jobs. All right, and so that's it. Now I'm going to try to keep the lecture short. Again, all of the PowerPoint is going to be on Canvas. I'm going to post a video as well, and then the project I'll post later today. So it's going to be like a template, kind of like the last one, and you just basically fill in the blocks. All right, and then at the end, I'll probably have you write like a short paragraph or something. Okay, but please email me if you have any questions.